pass the sign-in sheet around. That is important. As a reminder, we're not charging company dollar on your first deal closed after Ignite. I almost said bold. I'm so used to bold. So we want to get your name. I've been tracking that as we go. So please fill that out. We are here for day 3, and we're doing it from my laptop today as opposed to the other thing. I was reducing the variables today. Today is all about connecting with your market. So as we remember, we're kind of going through this in 4 major parts. The kind of being the real estate expert, understanding your career, the lead gen, lead follow-up, and then transactions. So today is part 3. Finishing out week 1. After today, we will be 1/6 of the way through, 16.66%. That's terrific. Before we dive in, I've got a guest joining me, kind of co-facilitating with me today. Eli, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been licensed for just a little over 2 years.
What's your name, by the way?
Eli Longold. Yep. Been with KW since January of this year, I believe. I came from Howard Hanna. Been getting close with Mark, Preston, a few other guys from the office. Love to get to know everybody that's been in here, and excited to teach this class with you guys.
Yeah, and I'll be driving and Eli will be chiming in. The reason that I wanted Eli to join us today, A, variety is good. You get tired of hearing from me and Gina all the time. But B, I think, Eli, you embody a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today. A lot of us get into the business. Oh, I like helping people, or I like houses, or more shall we say, the soft skills as it relates to the industry, and yet having expertise as it relates to the hard skills, or the data, knowing your stuff. I think you embody that well. You talk the talk, at least. Eli is helping me buy some property right now, and it's been a fantastic process thus far. I'm a bad client, so he has to remind me, Mark, you get this thing, and you respond, I'm getting there. Every
6 months.
Yeah, exactly. So today we're going to kind of hit a few kind of arcs. We're going to talk about knowing your market, talk about building your expertise. What resources do you have? What did you learn? And then what did you put in place? I'm going to mute for a second and let each respective office talk just for a few minutes. Hey, reintroduce if there's any fresh faces in the room, as well as any ahas, anything that you put in action from the first couple of days thus far that you're learning or being impacted by. So let's just take 3 minutes to We're not. All right, we're going to reconvene. I hope you're all having some good takeaways there. And I'll share, Heather was talking about the importance of intentionality and how it's all related. We're going back to the 6 personal perspectives, moving from E to P, or from the self-mastery conversation. And I think you're not disciplined here and totally undisciplined there. It's all connected. And I was connecting with a guy who's a MAPS executive coach recently, which is kind of the holy of holies for coaches in the KW world. And he is an Ironman athlete. He's got an Ironman triathlon coming up in 10 days. And he's like, I work less in my business because I'm spending more time doing this, and I'm more effective in my business because like I have to live like an incredibly disciplined life. It's not like, oh, I'm focusing on my hobby so I don't have time to work. It's like, no, me being a maniac about my fitness means that I'm actually better in my work. So go sign up for an Ironman and see what happens. All right. Here's the truth. This is from Gary. If it has been done in another market, it can be done in your market. Once it has been done, no matter where, it's just a matter of finding out how that can be possible in your world. Thanks, Gary. So today we're going to be talking about knowing and connecting with your market. It's all about research and preparation. We're going to be kind of looking at numbers. I'm going to be opening up the MLS today, looking at our market center numbers to be able to kind of speak the language of real estate. Yep. So there's 3 types of real estate markets: buyer's market, balanced market, and a seller's market. Anyone want to take a stab at what we've been in the last couple of years? Seller's market. And so how do we define them? It's up there. I don't think it's in your books, but fill it in. A balanced market is 6 months worth of inventory. And so a seller's market is where there's less than 5 months worth of inventory. Who knows how to calculate the inventory? Anyone want to take a stab? Eli, put you on the spot.
Honestly, I'm not sure off the top of my head either.
Great. It's a simple calculation, and we'll pull in, and I'm going to show you how to do it so that you know how to serve your people. So let me stop share. Let me go to the MLS. It says my screen sharing is paused, so I'm going to stop share really quick for you guys, and I'm going to pull up my MLS so that we can all see this. should have had that ready. I apologize. All right, so always read later. Mike, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see this? I can't see Mike anymore. You were here. Now you're gone. Lynn, can you see this? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So we calculate inventory by what's currently on the market. So let's find out. How many homes are on the market right now? Going to residential search, active. You can choose whether you want to do under contract, allow showings. That's a kind of a gray area. I'm gonna leave it in there because those are agents that are saying I want people to continue to see my home. Well, you can take that out if you want. So everything that's active, and let's just do, I'm gonna close this. The whole MLS for now. Hopefully you can see at the bottom there. I'm gonna close the chat. 9,894 active homes in our MLS. Now let's run it. Those of us who are here in the room, we're in Stark County. You can get as specific as you want. So this is, hey, if you're meeting with someone in Greene, you're meeting with someone in Cuyahoga Falls, you're meeting in a particular school district. The more specific, the better. All right, so I just filtered for Stark, and there's 632 active homes.
Where's that showing?
The very bottom left, just over Eli's head there.
Okay.
Get down. So yeah, and I can filter by results, and it'll show us what those are specifically, but I don't need to do that now. So okay, that's what the inventory is. Let's do it for Stark County. Everyone write down 632. Now we're going to look at what's sold, and the autofill in the MLS is in the last 6 months, 0 to 180 days. I'm less concerned with that than I am about the last month. So let's look. Whoops. Let's look August 1 through August 31. So in August, how many homes sold? What number do we see here? 482. So you divide 632 to over 482, which should give us something like 1.4. Or I'm just 1.3. Close. Come on, Mark, get it right. So that is a pretty pronounced seller's market. What we can also do is let's look at how many sold in the month before that, just to see. I keep doing that. See what direction we're moving in. July 1. Oops. Clear it out. July 1 through July 31. 412 homes sold. So the number of homes sold in Stark County actually went up in August over July, that's good news. That means inventory is moving at a higher velocity. It doesn't mean more stuff is necessarily coming on, but that's how we understand where we're at with the market. So you can't just Google, are we in a seller's market, Stark County? Articles might pop up, but for you to be able to say, hey, Mr. Buyer and Seller, the traditional balanced market is 6 months. We're currently at 1.3, which means there's far more buyers looking than there are homes available. So which is good news for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Everyone understand how to do that? Does that make sense? So it's just looking at it.
Can you tell us the formula again?
Step by step?
Yes, please.
Would you like me to do it or just tell you, Lynn?
Tell us.
So you are filtering by whatever area you want. You're looking at your county, you're looking at your city, you're looking at the school district, and you'll know, or you should know, what matters most. Like, okay, filtering for an entire city, Canton, there's different pockets it's a very different story in some pockets as opposed to others. You can filter based upon price range. Okay, how many homes in Stark County have sold, are active between $150,000 and $250,000 because we know that they want to sell around 200. You're trying to understand what their market is. The more specific, if you get too specific and there's only sample size of 2, that doesn't do any good. But it's so you're looking at active homes for sale up here, and that's not time stamped. That's how many homes are for sale. You don't have to say how many homes were for sale in a given period. It's right now. If you don't put a calendar date to it, it'll pull the entire inventory. What's your area that you're filtering for, or the parameters that you're filtering for? So that gives you your inventory number. And then to determine whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, you are then looking at sold within the last 30 days. Now that it has to be within the last month. I didn't do it for 30 days. I did the previous full month, because when you're inside the current month, like September data is not going to be good data yet, because different brokerages operate different ways, and what clicks when and what closes out when. So look at the previous full month. So we're looking at August. When you're meeting with someone in October, you can do the full month of September. You're then seeing how many homes were sold during that time. So we had 632 active homes in Stark County, and we had 482, I think was the number, sales in the previous full month, giving us 1.3 months of inventory based upon the velocity or the rate at which homes are sold. That make sense? Clear as mud? Got it, Lynn? She's asking for you guys.
You do it differently than I do. I think there's a market report you can pull.
We got it.
I use those in my listing presentation.
Yeah, there are preset, and we'll look at some of this soon. There are preset stats that you can look at that we'll go back to. I hope you guys can see my slideshow that I'm going to try to go full back to again. It says it stopped. Resume share. Stop share. This is annoying. Woo!
Have a fun morning.
I'm just going to do it this way, and you guys are going to see it a little bit smaller, and I think that's going to be more reliable. All right, so that's the 3 types of market. We are in a seller's market, but do that, like, run it all the time. And next month it might be 1.4 months of inventory, which doesn't mean that it's no longer a seller's market, but it shows us the way that the waters are moving, and that's the way it's moving. And so 1.4 months, like we had last year, summer of 21, like 0.8, 0.9 months, like just 0 minutes worth of inventory. And anyone who was licensed then experienced that. Still a very, very warm seller's market. So this breaks down. Inventory is the number of properties for sale within a market. What's the inventory of your market? What's the average number of days a home stays on the market? What is the average price a home in your market sells for? All right, so let's go back into the MLS. And let's just go, this is maybe what you were referencing, Eli. So there's a stats tab in the MLS right next to search. And I'm going to see if I can make this bigger for you. So over here on the left are presets. Eli, do you use these, or do you go to a different place to?
I use these all the
Okay.
time, yeah.
Which ones do you like pulling more than others?
I definitely like the average days on market versus list price medium. And that's a really big one. I think that helps set seller expectations really well, because even though we're still in a warm seller's market, it's definitely shifting with interest rates going up and stuff like that. And so when I show them their comps, that's something I highlight, like, hey, days on market are sitting at like 35 before we go under contract and things of that nature. So that always helps. Another one, I don't really use the current price to square footage ratio, because I don't do my comps that way.
Yeah.
Another one that I can use. And sale price to list price ratios, that's another big one as well, especially in this market, because price reductions are actually a thing after the last 2 years. So that always helps. And sale price average is another big one.
Yep. So what we're going to do is we are going to work together. And I'm showing you guys how to do this, and we're going to do it for Stark County, realizing that we serve Wayne County and Ashland County and Richland County and Cuyahoga County and Summit County and everywhere in between. I guess there's nothing in between, maybe out to Medina. And we're going to run it for Stark just so that there's a level of specificity here. Page 3.5. We can look at together. So what is the inventory of your market? So we just, with Stark County, 632 homes is the current inventory. They're not asking us whether it's a seller's market or buyer's market, but you can put parenthetically 1.3 months worth of inventory. Average number of days a home stays on the market. So there's a preset here. ADOM is average days on market. And that's versus list price. So this is going to show us a $50,000 home versus a $300,000 home. Those are different markets. So it's already looking at, let's look at Stark again, just for the sake of consistency. There we go. And this should give us, so on the y-axis, that's this one, right? Days on market. Am I right? Back to algebra, Let's map our parabolas, everybody. I tapped out at about 7th grade. And then the x-axis is over time. So the January market is different from the September market. And then the right side y-axis is price point. So it's a little bit confusing. There's 3 data sets that we're looking at here. So days to sell median, and then the list price median. So the list price, the blue line here for Stark County has gone up a little bit, and we're seeing some tapering now, which is actually good news. Not to get too deep onto the economics of things, but the rising inflation rates are seeking to accomplish exactly this. So as the Fed sees this happen, we're going to see interest rates stop growing. Doesn't mean they're going back to 2. Sorry, everybody. And then the green line is days to sell median. So would love a couple comments. What do you see here? What jumps out to you here? What can we deduce from this?
Summer months. Easier to buy and sell.
Easier to sell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The average days on market is much lower April through July, than the bookends. And I think those days on market, we're going to see that continue to trend up, which is actually an okay thing. The sky ain't falling. I also think it looks like a molar. Someone needs to brush their teeth. So yeah, we're seeing average days on market trend up. So average number of days a home stays on the market. So that doesn't tell us specifically. So over here, that was the chart. Now we can see the actual hard data. Days on market median, which is weird. They call it average. Average and median are not the same thing. In August, which is what we're looking at, was 16 days. Okay, so that's your line 2. What's average number of days a home stays on the market? 16 days. September thus far, September ain't closed yet, but was 19 days. So it's growth by a little bit there. That makes sense? What is the average price a home in your market sells
You have
for?
that on the right side there, I believe.
Yep, there you go. So, well, that's the list price.
Oh,
So the average list price is 179.9 for Stark County in August, and then it went down by 10 grand. But let's see average, and hopefully it gives us better data there. Why is it giving us over 5 years? There we go. So make sure you're looking at the proper year. The actual sales price average in August in Stark County was 207,929.
Sustained growth from 18 to 22.
So Preston just made the comment, if you look at August of 2018 to August of 2022, that's roughly 30 some odd % growth over a 5-year period. And we know that, we feel that, but should have bought back then, right? So just a quick aside to the buyer who says, I'm going to wait for a buyer's market. I'm going to wait for things to become more financially approachable, which there's two levers on that. There's the interest rates and then there's the actual price of the home. What's the initial response there? You don't know that. Gary's response is, all right, let me know when we hit the bottom. Nobody knows when we hit the bottom, and all of the data over the last 5 years has trended up. Might it taper? Because like it hasn't continued to ever, only go up over time. There are dips, and if let's see, we're not going to see dips in the last 10 years because it's been the strongest sellers market in history. But this, okay, let me know when we hit the bottom. Helps the buyer to know we don't actually know this. So 207,929. Based on the inventory, what type of real estate market are you in? We've already answered this. Answer? Sellers. All right, this is going a little bit off MLS. What are the current average mortgage interest rates? 30-year fixed as of today.
6.75 for the last buyer I got.
My last buyer was 6.8.
6.8, 6.7.
7.1.
Whew.
No,
Depends. That's
I was just, a lender just informed me yesterday, somebody locked in that rate.
could have been, and there's factors that go into that. The prime would be lower than that, but they may be less than prime.
Also traditional banks too, their rates were always bigger. If it's like Huntington or Chase or something like that, yeah.
Yep, I'm the homes I'm buying right now are quoted at 6.875. All right, giddy up, here we go.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep. Okay. What is the unemployment rate in your market? So that the more local you go there, we can go to national statistics. We can see what's happening there. Twice a year, Gary does his big vision speech, which gives us data on a national level. And unemployment is really low from a national standpoint. That being said, we aren't national. We're Stark County or we're Cuyahoga County or wherever. So let's just see. And I'm gonna. Chamber of Commerce is often a place where you go to see this sort of thing, but Stark County, Ohio, employment rates. And you don't need to know all of this perfectly, but okay. As of right now, we're at 4.3%, which is fantastic. If you look, you can go over a longer period of time. Let's look at the 10-year. Oh, golly. I'm not starting my free trial. All right, 3-year. What do we see here? And hopefully everyone on the screens can see this as well. What do we see here and what can we observe? COVID. Tell us more about that.
When they basically forced all the non-essential people to stay home, and they had to file for unemployment and all the government assistance that they had at that time.
Yep. So companies freaked out. They said, we gotta furlough you, we gotta downsize. How many people were impacted by that in some form or fashion? I imagine a handful. Your employment was shaped. I was changing jobs during that, which was fun. But yeah, we had this big freak out moment. We didn't know what was happening. And then really quickly, largely aided for better and worse by the largest stimulus packages in history, businesses stopped freaking out, people started spending money again, and at least the unemployment rate went down. Just a side note on this, the statistics are always okay. What's the story beneath this? A lot of people, there was a great resignation during this time. The 62-year-old who thought they might work a couple more years, but just didn't want to work in a virtual environment or didn't want to have to deal with the mask stuff or whatever their workplace required. There was a great resignation during that. That's still happening as people figure out whether they want to work in this new world order or not. And so the unemployment statistics, those people aren't employed anymore, but they're not seeking work as well. So when we say like, hey, there's so many jobs out there, why aren't people doing this? It's the number of people that are looking for jobs actively is very low, that's a good driver. If it's much lower than this, then you get into a more inflationary environment. This isn't an Econ 101 class, but 4.3%, that's a fantastic number. So 4.3% in your market. What is the growth rate of your community? I don't actually know the answer to that. That's a question as it relates to population trends. So as you think about where you're at or where your people are at, asking the question, we might turn the temp down in here. Hey, Caitlin, would you mind going to the large conference room and turning it down like 2 degrees?
Yeah.
The thermostat is in the large conference room, which is the worst possible place for it. So let me go back down here. So as you think about, all right, we're talking through economic factors. Okay, that's good. As you think about the growth rate, and we're not going to pull that up specifically because that's a more nuanced conversation, thinking about the economic factors that drive your market. What's the unemployment rate in your market? How many workers are entering or exiting the workforce in your market? What is the growth rate of your community? How has the government made any changes to rules and regs that might affect the housing market? Eli, as you think about Stark County, and again, not everyone's in Stark County, but just to illustrate, when someone asks, oh, are we going up? We going down? What do you look at? How do you think about that? What narrative are you looking at to help shape that conversation?
Well, in terms of economic factors, a really big one that I pay attention to is where the fulfillment centers are going, because those are massive job hubs that pay really, really well. So like I have a listing in Firestone Park, and so that's been a huge guide for us, and pretty much everybody that's gone through there, at least the people that I've shown have all been through Amazon. Other factors, are you looking just for economic factors?
What do you look at in the community to see whether it's moving in the direction that's going to be friendly for buyers or sellers?
I'll look at the last 5 years of sale prices to see what inflationary rates, a lot of times, especially with investors, that's a big thing to want to know what kind of equity they're going to be getting into, that kind of stuff. What else?
It's the stuff we know. It's the as you think about what is the local water cooler talk when you get together with someone and you're complaining about something or you're excited about something. Those usually show up in economic factors. Oh, the Hall of Fame is building this village that will draw tourism at least, or there's financial investment there. Oh, there's a rezoning conversation that's happening that is going to impact things. Rezoning always impacts real estate issues. Oh, there's a EPA debacle happening with that factory down the street, and that's going to impact things. So as you think about the water cooler, what's happening in the local news, it's not real estate happens on a local level, and these things typically are seen on a gradual level as it relates to pricing. But for you to be the local economist of choice, I mentioned in the shift class yesterday, reading the national news is only helpful in so much as you can see what your people are reading, but that's it. It's not going to be helpful to say, oh, this means that I should do this now in my business, because the stuff that impacts your business is going to happen on a local or at least a regional level. So what businesses are moving in, what businesses are moving out? Did the GM plant in Mansfield export their jobs overseas a few years ago? Yes. Did that impact the price of housing? You bet, because a bunch of people were migrating there. Any other thoughts as it relates to economic factors?
I would suggest reading the newspaper. That's honestly, I know it's old school, but it's one of the best places to find the local news personally, so.
Mhm. Kim, you're
Isn't there like in Stark County, there's like a Stark Development Board? Is anybody involved with that at all, or is anybody?
there's and every chamber of commerce has some version of this, the development board, and that's a great place to plug in, a great place to find resources. What's happening here, what grants or programs are going on that are going to help a certain subset of the community. And again, you don't need to know everything about this stuff as much as to be able to say, hey, this is good things are happening in this area, or not. One qualifier is we want to be wary of overplaying good news or bad news. So keeping stuff between the lines. Oh, Amazon's coming to town, which means everyone's problems are going away. You know, crime's gone because Amazon's here. You know, like no, like it doesn't work that way. Or, you know, Hall of Fame's here, which means, you know, Canton's gonna triple inside. No, like it's a good thing, but don't oversimplify good news or bad news. Simply because a shooting happened 3 blocks down from a place that you're looking to buy or sell doesn't mean that neighborhood's not moving in the right direction. Also, just from a fair housing standpoint, talking local news and talking what's happening in a good in a specific community, you need to be very careful with, oh, that's when someone says, is that a bad part of town or should I move there? We show data, we show here's a business that's moving in, but you need to be very careful and thoughtful about subconsciously, because most fair housing violations are or fair housing questionable conversations are not intentional. And so being very thoughtful about that. Yeah, Paige.
Like really push me to like try and tell them whether it's like a bad neighborhood or not. They're like, just tell me, is it a bad neighborhood? And I'm like, sir, like here's some, you know, you can go here and find that information, or just drive around the neighborhood yourself.
Yeah.
Like, so, but people will really push you for that.
Yeah, no, and you can understand why they would, and
Yeah,
it's a dicey area. Let's spend a couple of minutes. I've been rambling, and that's never good for anybody. Let's spend a couple minutes muting and then talking about local economic factors, how to talk about those things, any ahas as it relates to looking at data. Let's spend 5 or 7 minutes doing that, and then we'll reconvene as a group.
Could you let us know when you come back? Give us a warning.
Where's my opportunity to mute? Okay.
We're falling apart for me because of that. Yeah.
All right, we will reconvene. We had some good conversation in our room about how to handle delicate conversations when a client really wants to know about an area, good or bad. What does it look like to be a real resource? Connecting them to the appropriate information while keeping fair housing question marks in line. So that's so important to get right. All right, so learn the market, and then build your expertise is kind of where we're at. And then, or know your market, build your expertise. So learn the market, we've talked about that. Learn your clientele. Actually, no, let's stick with learn the market for a second here. So know your language of real estate. Does anybody know what that means? That's what, like a KW term that we talk about. So the language of real estate, it's the conversations we have, and I'm just going to pull up an example of another KW market center. So language real estate is how many homes were sold recently, and we like to compare ourselves to what's happening in the market. Gives us a gauge. Okay, are our agents overperforming or underperforming? What should we look at? So this is KW Riverside, probably in California. Their local market is down 17%. They're up 17%. That's a delta of 34%. That's good news. Sales volume down 5% locally, up 25% with us. And this is obviously a piece that they put together. Listings taken volume, listings sold volume, contracts written volume. That's a really deceiving statistic. I don't like looking at that one all that closely, but what's happening in the market and how are we doing relative to that? We have, oh shoot, it's going to refresh. We have something, I'm not going to bother you with it now since it would require me to hop back in there, called multi-year trends report. So every individual agent with KW has their own multi-year trends report. And then we as a market center have our multi-year trends report. And basically what that provides is a year over year, month over month language of real estate report. So how many listings did we sell? How many listings did we take last month? 232. How many listings did we sell? And being able to track that over time. You have that as well. Now, if you're brand new to the industry, it's like, oh, I sold my first home last month. That's my trend. What can I deduce from this? I need to sell more houses. I'm new. That's great. But the more you sell, the more for you to be able to benchmark and say, where am I at from a rankings don't matter as much as is what's happening in my business consistent with what's happening in the market. It's easy to craft your own narrative. Oh, well, business is down. Well, there's a lot of people whose business is up right now. So you can choose to, buy into that narrative. Well, interest rates are tough and blah, blah, blah. And my business is down. It's like, well, some people are up. So let's talk about why that is for them. And can you emulate that? So the language of real estate really is closing. And we want to do both units and volume. And if you ever want to see the market center's multi-year trends, and as you think about as newer agents marketing yourselves, hey, I haven't sold anything yet. You rely on the horsepower behind you. The brokerage that I'm with, here's what's happening. The coach who's in my corner, I don't know the answer, but I'm a second away from it. If you're on a team, you can talk about what your team is doing. That's not deceptive. It's an ecosystem conversation more than just me as a newbie conversation. We look at units and volume. Why? As opposed to just one or the other. Why would we look at both?
Give you an average. You can sell one $60,000 house or one $500,000 house, and those are two completely different markets.
Yes. Yep. Maintaining a unit's focus. So what's happened in the last 10 years with prices, right? And that's good news for agents who are selling homes. Hey, I made more this year than last year while selling equal to or maybe less than number of homes. So looking at volume alone or gross commission income alone can be a deceptive metric. because you might not have actually done any better with the things that you can control. So focusing on units, because we look at reports and the President Sales Club is based upon volume. Hey, they sold 8 million in volume. There's an agent with another brokerage who she sells like 20 houses a year for like 16 million in volume because she sells $800,000 homes. And that's great, we're happy for you. But you can only control your efforts as it relates to units. And particularly as you're getting started, there's no unit, there's no price point that you shouldn't consider working with, in my not so humble opinion. So learn the market, know the language of real estate. And if you don't have any LORE trends, LORE trends, then ask me for our multi-year trends report. That's something that we look at regularly. Learn your clientele. Who are the buyers? Who are the sellers? Does the market benefit your clients? Does the market put your clients at risk? Let's talk about it from both sides, actually. And I think this is a good time to break out in groups again. Let's talk about the market as it relates to your buyers. In our shift class, we talked about framing. It's not just, no inventory and interest rates are terrible and let's just wait till things come down. What does it look like to reframe things in a truthful way, but in a way that's helpful for them? And then similarly with sellers, what benefits do we see for each, and what risks do we see for both buyers and sellers in this market? So let's take 7 minutes with our respective groups and discuss those questions.
Give us a warning, like a 2-minute warning.
All right, we will reconvene. Hopefully you all have had good conversations. We did some role play in here as it relates to having a conversation with the buyer that didn't want to contend in the market a year ago, and it's obviously a different market now than to then. And having a conversation, what are the pros and cons? Every single market has a pro and con for everyone. And so part of our job is not to say, yeah, it sucks, or yeah, it'll be better soon, or whatever, but to say, here's what's true, and here's the opportunity that it presents for you. It's never about being inauthentic or not telling the truth. It's about the fact that buying or selling real estate is personal. And then let's talk about the economic factors related to that. Maria in our room, and I just want to spend a minute talking about this, particularly for sellers. We know that it's still a strong seller's market, but that things are changing. Like the data is showing us that the days on market are ticking up. Average sale price has peaked. We're seeing that, it was doing this for forever, and then it's doing some tapering. But the overwhelming kind of the national data doesn't yet really reflect what's happening in the market. So if your average client, potential seller client isn't plugged into what's happening, and most of them aren't. They read Zestimates and they watch HGTV and they hear what happened down the street to the house that they think is not as nice as theirs, but in reality was nicer than theirs. Oh man. Then our job is to help them understand what's happening right now. Getting this right can't be more important, because the market tells them one thing, but the market data is lag, meaning that happened a few months ago. Comps, hey, let's pull comps from 6 months ago. Comps are no good. And the traditional path strategy, let's look at what happened in the last 6 months. Comps from March, they're not doing anybody any good. I had a listing. I met for the listing appointment end of May. It was going to be 4 to 6 weeks for them to clear out mom's house and get things in order. I made the mistake of having a pricing conversation end of May. Had to, days before we actually went live. All right, let's make sure we're on the same page. Let's reconvene. Let's talk about our strategy, our process. And I have bad news. And they knew things were tipping, but the number we talked about in May, again, I'm willing to do what you're willing, what you wish. And I can't recommend that we come in at that price. And so we had a hard conversation. They were saying the Zestimate still says that it's worth more than we talked about before. And I said, well, if Zillow offers to buy your home, then, I'd be glad to help facilitate that transaction. But until they do, you have, we need to look what's actually happening here. And so we came in $15,000 lower, and it sold $5,000 below that number. And so for them, it was like, we got it done though. They weren't digging their heels in saying, let's just hold to this number. But some sellers are, Zion's got a guy that's just not wanting to play ball right now with price or with letting him market the place, for goodness sake. Eli's got a guy that's playing hard to get, though you're beginning to gain some ground there.
Yeah.
And so managing seller expectations and talking about what's happening right now and in your market. Hey, yeah, Ohio may be doing this, but let's talk about Firestone Park in the last 30 days. And some people need to see data. Some sellers need for it to be their idea. And so it's not you telling, hey, how dare you do this? It's what's the data showing us, and what do you think is the right move to make? And if it's about getting top price and they don't care how long they wait, okay, we'll give it a run, and let's pre-agree to a price adjustment in a 14 to 30 days. But yeah, this is an important thing. There was a hand. Yeah, Zarice.
There's a house that I sold for $295, and the estimate when it was 2 weeks ago, I said it was like $600,000.
Yeah. Yep. No, we just sold a property in St. Louis for it was a similar number. Like the Zestimate was telling hundreds of thousands of dollars more than what we sold it for. I'm like, part of me as the owner, like, oh, well, maybe. And it's like
this one site, this one time.
yeah, I would. Oh, and another one, this is a good trick. When they say this is the number that I want, ask them the question, would you pay that for this now? And let's run an affordability calculator. Let's talk about what that monthly payment would be, and putting them in the buyer's shoes, like, oh, it would cost $1,800 to live in my house. I'm only paying, $1,000 a month. Well, yeah. The times have changed, and the buyers looking at this property are dealing with the times that have changed, not the conditions that you bought under 4 years ago at 3%. Like it's just different. There was another hand.
Does estimate come from? Like, what's it calculated on? Craziness? Right.
It's a quick and dirty. They're drawing a circle and saying how many homes have sold within this radius. Let's just average it out. Now, if there's a luxury home that's happened, St. Louis is very block by block. So like 4 blocks away, there were $1 million homes. Our home was not $1 million home. It was a very different street 4 blocks away. But Zillow is counting the $1 million home that sold. They don't have a nuanced algorithm as it relates to comps. Yeah, Paige.
I had a conversation with grandparents. They're like, well, they were saying that it's $495, and I'm like, Grandma, no,
Yeah.
it's not. She's like, well, maybe we could try it, and I'm like, Grandma, no, it's not gonna happen, because our house really is not worth $495. They paid like $200,000 for it, 20, 30 years ago when they bought it, and they have updated and everything. It's just not like Zillow's
Yeah.
pushing it.
Yeah.
I keep trying to tell them, like, no.
If Zillow offers to buy it, I'd be glad to help
Yeah.
you. And so just on this point, I'll keep it moving for the sake of all that are listening in. Listen to individuals. And this is as you learn your market, but also as you relate to your clients or would-be clients. If we're taking a top-down telling approach, nobody wants to work with a know-it-all. They want to work with someone who's knowledgeable, who cares about their needs. And those are two very different things. So here's what we're seeing. Let me show you what we're seeing. And let's have a conversation about what you think is best. Know-it-alls don't get much business. No, this is what's market's going down, the market's coming up. Like, nobody likes to be told. They want to be invited into that. So your job as a real estate expert is to listen, to know, to listen, and to invite, not to preach. There's a place for preaching, and the real estate transaction is not it. Learn where your sphere gets their information. Where did you read that? Oh, I heard this. Where did you read that? I'd be curious to research it myself. Be a consultant and be present with them. We've already talked about this. Keep the headlines in context. Read past the headline, knowing your numbers. Headlines don't know your specific community or aren't telling the specific truth about your specific community. All right, utilize your resources. I'm going to fly through here. The command app, there's a command app and there's a KW app that your clients can use to search, and you can see what they're looking at and can see data in your area. It's actually a really useful tool. I know that most people choose to spend their time on Zillow as it relates to that stuff. So we don't need to try to knock down the doors and say we're going to overtake where people are doing their searching. But that is a very real resource. Lynn, I know you're here and we didn't rehearse this in any way. Do you want to talk for a second about how Command or the app can help with people understanding or being a consultant to their clients?
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
It's magical. So as far as the KW app, the actual command app, that's really, really, really important because it gives you notifications. You're not tied to your PC. You will get on the fly notifications. So if you're searching for leads using Facebook or whatever you're trying to do, it's going to, anything interaction inside your database, it's going to tell you on your phone. That is the biggest thing that I see, that it just, because everyone wants, I need it now, I need it now. So if there's speed to lead, you're getting it now. And then you can log into your phone, so you don't even have to go to your computer, and it's tied to whatever you do on your phone, it's tied to whatever you do in your database. So that's huge if you use it. If you don't use it, garbage in, garbage out. So that's for KW, that was a huge improvement, the app tied to the actual database, because everything's at your fingertips now, no matter where you are. Because every single realtor I've ever met doesn't have a phone on, always. So if they need to put someone in, they can put it in real quick, or maybe they find out something about that person, they can make a note of it real quick. So they can follow up later, maybe it was really important. Maybe they had a child, this is something you want to talk about, because if they're having a child, maybe they need a bigger house, who knows? But if you're
Mhm.
engaging, you're top of mind, that's the easiest way to talk to a person.
Are you telling us it gives us pregnancy notifications?
It possibly could.
Not yet, they're working on that one. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I set people up on a search, and they search or they click on that, I can see that within my app.
Correct, and they can set themselves up on their own search if they're on your app or if they are on your website. You can see whatever they're doing.
There's a lot of value to that. And you never want to be a, I've been looking at your browsing history and see that you're interested in this neighborhood, like, whoa, get out of my life. But for them to say, hey, when you're setting it up, not just download my app, but here's what the app will enable us to do together and the way that I'll be better positioned to serve you through this process. Then when you say, hey, did you like that house? Or notice that you've been actively searching. Do you have any questions? It gives another reason to be in touch with people, particularly for people who, like, I've got a prospective future client who's probably going to buy and sell in like 6 months. For me to have her on that gives me a gauge of her level of interest. I think sometimes we think, oh, I've got active buyers and then I've got people down the road. But for us to kind of move into the middle zone of they're not active, but they're looking. And
If
most
you're
people
way
are
off
doing.
too, if you're off base on what you think they want, they can set up their own. And they can also send their collections to other people. And then when they send them, when they log in, you've captured the other people too, so you can kind of see what's going on without actually interfering with what they're doing.
Yep, great point. So that's a takeaway. If you haven't already downloaded it and guinea pig it with a couple of clients or friends, hey, I'm or family, hey, I'm new and I know you're not looking, but I'd love for you to explore this. Let me know how it works. It's
It
a
also
good
tells
reason.
you when your commissions are being paid. So for the most important factor, it tells you when your commission's been received and you're about to get paid, because if they're pulling it in, they're waiting on the check. It's coming.
Yep, that's great. Thanks. Lynn Scott, everybody. Okay, this is changing gears. I'm just trusting Ignite here. So we talked a little bit the other day about the 10-5-1 rule as it relates to social media. I learned yesterday, I haven't verified it, but I learned yesterday from Amy Kleptak with TK Home Inspections that Facebook responds more to hearts than to likes. But as a refresh, every day we should be liking or loving 10 posts a day, commenting on 5 and sending 1 DM per day. I know we use different platforms. I'm like pathetic on Instagram, and Facebook is where I spend my time, as you all probably know. But there's an activity here that was interesting. So I'm not sure if it's going to guide us through on here. Those are identical. It's weird. So you can do an audit of your social media presence. And I'm just going to do it for a second here so you can see from a Facebook standpoint. So go to me, I think. No, it's not going to behave, is it? And I'm going to go to likes. No. There's an activity log section. Does anybody know where it is off the top of their head?
On a commercial page, it gives you more direct analytics. Is this your personal page or your commercial?
This is my personal.
Personal, I'm not sure, but for a commercial, if you go to the Facebook ad manager, it can break down like all of your engagements.
These are the things that I like, or the pages that I like. Let's see the check-ins. I've been to KW Legacy Group Realty a lot. All right, we're gonna table this because I don't want you guys to be bored with me trying to navigate my Facebook account. But the exercise, and I did it yesterday, and so I know it's doable, is you can look at everything that you've liked. And you can look at everything that you've commented on. You can look at everything that you've created a post about. And to ask the question, does my social media presence reflect what I want it to? Oh, I think that I'm, people see me this way, but everything, all my posts and my pictures are real estate and professional, but everything I like and comment on is like trashy humor. The world can see that, like if one of my friends comments on something else, depending on how high they are on my, priority list, I'll see that Jesse commented on Sam's page about some random thing. And it's like, oh, do you want everyone seeing that? Let's talk for a minute about your social media presence, just while we're on it. Here's the two ends of the spectrum. One's all fun. Hey, me and my friends doing something crazy. And then the other end is all business. Just sold, under contract, just sold, under contract, real estate article. Where do you want to be? Let's talk about, for those who are on Zoom, I'm creating that spectrum. Where do you want to be in the business extreme to personal extreme continuum?
70-30.
70-30. Tell me about that.
70-30 personal, or 70% personal, 30% business. So people still see that you're a human, not just like a real estate robot, but like, hey, look what we're doing. And then, hey, I sold a house, you can sell, you can buy one too, and kind of like that. And, this kind of, I think 70-30 would be a good balance.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to pause for a second because I think this is a good thing for groups to discuss. So let's talk about the brand that you want to have. So the professional to personal continuum. Preston just took first pass at 70-30 personal to professional ratio. How often to post? How do you want to be perceived? Let's spend a few minutes within your groups discussing that.
provider.
Great point. All right, well, we're gonna reconvene. Hope you all have had some helpful conversation. Looks like you Elevate folks are diving in on some how-to stuff. That's fun. But good conversation as it relates to social media ratios, what to post, what not to post. I'm gonna share just a couple thoughts. So a balanced diet is good. If all you are is business, they're not going to think that you're a real person. And people in this culture, in this moment, want authenticity. I want to know that someone's a real person, not just a robot. But if all you're doing is personal, you don't want your sphere to forget that you're in real estate. That's the worst. As a newer agent, what do I post? I don't have tons of listings right now. Just a couple of tips. I'm going to highlight what you did the other day. Sam took a picture of her book in this class and said, hey, I'm learning, and I forget exactly what you said, but when you're learning, it's not about like, check out how awesome I am. It's I'm gaining knowledge to provide more value to the people that I serve. And so the average person in your sphere is like, oh, good for her. Like she's growing, and I would want a realtor that's committed to being better, right? So that's a gimme. I'll take a selfie at the end of this class so we can all share that and post it. That's a gimme. You can, and there's nuance to this, and talk about that. When someone else has a listing, you can share that with a couple quick caveats. Permission from that person. If it's from a different brokerage, that needs to be in writing. Hey, yeah, I give you permission to market that listing. If it's internally, like Rich and I both say, you're welcome to do that. Like it's mine and his decision to say whether you can or can't do that. From a courtesy standpoint, it's good to have a conversation. If I'm a listing agent, I'm glad for you to spread the word in your sphere as to, if you bring a buyer, that's great. I'd love to do business with you. But there can be complexity to that. So getting permission is always good. So sharing hey, check out, who wants to go see this listing with me? I'm in this class, are two kind of simple things for those that are getting going in the business to be able to share. Finding articles, whether it's NAR, whether it's Inman, whether it's a local economic thing. Hey, excited to see this business come to town, or curious what this zoning regulation might mean. Be glad to talk about it with you. So you're positioning yourself as the real estate expert, but being real. And to Eli's toddler comment, some people love that stuff, and some people get annoyed by that stuff. We aren't super active with our kids on social media for like privacy and letting them be them. But that's a personal choice that we've made. But real and professional, you want to have a blend. Also, I have so many soapboxes, I guess. As you think about what to post, to Brendan's comment, think about who you might inadvertently be alienating with the post. So the stuff that, drunk Uncle Tom talks about at Thanksgiving, that you're like, oh boy, here he comes again. Like if that's your presence, like there's a lot of drunk Uncle Toms on social media. Don't be drunk Uncle Tom. I don't have Uncle Tom, I don't think. And so politics, religion, I'm not saying don't have opinions, but being very thoughtful about who might be a potential client or a potential referral source who might say like, whoa, coming in hot with the opinion, Mark. There are encouraging ways, like you can be a positive, oh, I'm excited about this thing, or had a great time at church this weekend or whatever. Like it's not saying like, don't talk about who you are and the things that matter to you. But the way that you communicate and the particular, like, I just say avoid COVID related outworking stuff. Like,
Don't say the vaccine word.
yeah, you may have great opinions. You may have the perfect opinion. The world does not need to know, and you're not going to convince the world to change their opinion. Like no one's ever changed their mind based upon your post on social media. So disabuse yourself of the idea and move forward. That's so important in this moment. You don't want to be a bland robot, but also you don't want to alienate people. All right.
I feel like you can always tell whether someone isn't going to do great in this business or they're like a top producer in their industry, whether they post politically. I don't know why. It's just so funny. All the huge agents I know, they all have political posts, but it's like, well, yeah, you did 30 million last year. You don't care if a few people get mad about what you got.
Well, and I think, again, we're in the relationship business, and I think if all you're doing is posting on social media, but you're not building relationships with people outside of that, you're not building your business. That's supplemental, but if it's, okay, I'm also getting on the phone, I'm also out networking, I'm also personally texting people. I'll just use Jose as the example. He posts now and again, but most of us post more often than Jose does. And his business is obviously at a different point, but like, don't think that liking and commenting is like, oh man, I'm liking and commenting every day and I'm just not hitting my goals. Like, well, you're getting on the phone. Are you actually building relationships with people? Because those aren't the same thing. And the generation that you're engaging with, hey, you're certainly not building relationships with, folks that are older on social media. You might with folks that are younger, but it's not a substitute, it's a supplement. We're close to done. So just a couple kind of enrichments or things that you can be doing. So the daily success system, continuing to track, am I having conversations? Am I adding contacts? Am I making personal connections, social media, handwritten notes, studying the multi-year trends. And I will put in an email a PDF of our multi-year trends report, just so you guys can look at that and begin to speak that language.
Is that something we can access to, or is that through? Management level?
Let's look at it after this class. I don't know the answer to that. Caitlin's saying no.
I think the market center has to pull it.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll drop it as a PDF on our Facebook page, and any of you can download that, and I can have that as a monthly rhythm, just to see. You can take an MLS course. Tracy McNeil of MLS knows her stuff. We haven't done one in a while, and we could do one again as far as running the numbers and what's specifically to look at. Visit and hold open houses. That gives you a feel for what's actually happening in the market. Study the language of real estate that's related to multi-year trends, but also to your local community. Read the MREA, the Red Book. If you haven't already, you got to. What else? Any other things as you think about actionables? What's that?
Make sure you have a business page when you're doing your Facebook.
Yes. So really quickly, Preston brought up a good point that I'll highlight. We're close to wrapping, folks, so hang with me for one more minute. Business page versus personal page. Back to the social media conversation. Should you have a business page?
On Facebook, yes, you have to. Well, technically you have to.
Okay. Brendan says, yes, you have to have one.
On
Tell us
Facebook.
why. On Facebook, why?
If they see you promoting, and they hardly actually do this, but if they see you promoting business on your personal page, they can take it down. And also, what
Yes,
you do is you
correct.
post on your business page and then share it to your personal, and also it protects you. It's a one-click rule. So if you have a post without the logo on it and it's on your business page, and all it takes is a click on your link that's on your business page, you're protected. So it's just legality wise and yeah.
Yep. You aren't gonna, who has posted something on their business page and got like your mom to like it and that's it. All of us, like, people don't be like, oh, what's happening on Preston's business page today? Like, that's just not how it works. Your business page is good for really two things: credibility.
No.
No, not to have one. So I'll get there in a second. So it's good for two things: credibility. Oh, like, he's actually in the business. There's like a logo there and it's linked to another business that's a viable business. So like, if people, particularly in your sphere, are like, okay, are you really doing this? It adds some validity in that space, but also you can sponsor ads and content through your business page. You can't run ads on your personal page. So, hey, I want to market this listing and I want to generate leads and set up a lead form and work with Lynn to connect that straight to my command account and do real lead gen via Facebook, which is a great strategy. And Eli does a lot of that as well. Then that has to happen through your business page. You don't pay for the page, but you will pay for the sponsored work that happens. That's it. So you want to have a consistent enough diet, just listed. If you're attending this class, start it from the business page and then share it to your personal page. But more than a couple times a week is unnecessary, in my humble opinion. Yeah, Preston.
Then you also need a business page to link your command to it. You can't link it to a personal page.
Correct. Yes.
So-
Your business page needs, command needs a business page to link to in order to set that up. Lynn, you should feel so loved that Preston was just dialed into that. We are 13 minutes early and I don't feel like we have to use all of those 13 minutes. So debrief amongst your respective offices and we'll see you all back. I think it's Elevate. Is it Elevate that's hosting it in person next week? I forget, but as a reminder, everyone's coming here and then we're streaming it in and Gina or I will be here to facilitate our conversation. So kill it this weekend. Do some of this stuff, get your daily success system in place. And we'll see you all back next Tuesday at the latest.